Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in because in this video we are going to be doing a video about the Powkiddy. Yep, the Powkiddy has returned with the X35H, the company that released a gazillion different devices nowadays. However, they're not that crazy like Embernic, but I think Powkiddy and Embernic are actually one of the biggest companies as making this video. So when it comes to these boxes, this particular one is like feeling a very fancy, let's say with this magnetic look, and the presentation itself is, yeah, very nice. However, so the first thing that we're going to be represented with is going to be, yeah, a screen protector. So that's nice. I love it when they're going to be putting foams. You know, everything how they packed it up is very nice. And then overall, let's say the quality, that's of course debatable. So first of all, the color we have chosen today is going to be in translucent one, the blue edition. I love these see-through things. However, I must say the configuration is something similar that I've seen before with different brands. However, so we're going to be looking at the form factor. I must say I find this enjoyable already. But the thing is, you can see that, so when you're going to be holding this device, your hands is possible it's going to be touching the thumbsticks. It's not like something really annoying depending how you're going to be holding your thumb and when it comes to the position. So the D-pad itself, it's an okay D-pad. I must say that when it comes to the form factor, but particularly when it comes to the form factor, you can actually see, let's see if the thing is going to be focusing. It's a very flat D-pad when it comes to that. It does have like quite a lot of resistance. The first thing that is noticeable that the resistance in some parts is slightly different. I do have like with right over here. So we're going to be looking into the, let's say the just basic. I think they were like normal analog sticks. They do stick out a little bit, but it doesn't matter. It's the same thing that we've seen with an, let's say in Nintendo Switch, I'm guessing. What I do love about is they have this very nice, let's say, how do you call this, profile at the side, to giving you a little bit better grip when actually playing the games. So having the shoulder button configuration, what is interesting, they went for, let's say, almost the same kind of level when it comes to that. We have seen with Embernic with different levels, and I really love that because you can fairly easy press the middle ones, the L2 and R2, with physical volume control. HDMI mini, we have an OTG or at least like an USB-C for charging, the on-off switch that we're going to be holding for a couple seconds for booting up. Over here, let's select and start. So it has the Powkiddy OS. At the bottom we're finding two SD card slots. So most of the time we're going to be having one for the OS with sometimes even needed files. We have an audio jack out, two speakers over here for the stereo effect, and in here we can find the battery. So let's see if there's any information. 3000 milliamp battery that's inside of here. So there's nothing much to actually see. The device is now booted up, and let's do a little bit of a lowering down of the light. You can see the overall, let's say, display they're using is just great. I must say that it's not the best display when it comes to that, but I must say I'm quite surprised. So let's do a little bit of a look inside of the menu and everything. But first, what are we getting more? Okay, and cable. And so, well, fun fact, I recently noticed that sometimes when it comes to these cheaper devices, not mostly Powkiddy, but those other brands, it's always necessary to actually just to keep the original cable, because there's something slightly different. But again, this is something of a different story. The toilet paper manual deluxe, of course, for the X35H, with some basic explanations about how everything works. They did put a lot of effort in here. Instruction for the keypads entering the menu, and everything you can actually do with this in 2 languages, and that's actually it. Quality pass, that's what we're going to be deciding today. So the form factor, we've seen something similar, but most of the time these handhelds were quite big compared with other ones. So let's do a little bit of a look into the settings over here. So let's see, we're having the gamepad settings. Okay, it's an interesting thing to see how they will perform. So we can actually press with the D-pad in different direction. I do have the idea that we need to put a little bit more effort. It also is for the joystick. We have the same kind of stuff we're going to be using for every single, let's say, stick or D-pad, only having one over here. L3 and R3, having A, B, X, Y. It also feels quite okay, and that's actually it. Okay, brightness, that's been set to 99%, so let's do a little bit of a lowering over here. It's easier to actually record. We're having the retro, so we can shut on, oh, it's kind of interesting, we can actually shut down certain parts, or at least like a certain platform if you don't care about it. It was something disabled. Let's check it out what it is. And let's see what it is. It is, oh, they disabled us. Okay. Time settings. So we have setting menu and we're having another setting. So we're having setting in the setting. So Neo Geo console, you know, I've been seeing that in Pandora's boxes. I have still no idea what's going on with that. Scan for ROMs, factory reset, reboot, and shutdown over here. So search, okay, so let's see how good that works when it comes to that. Let's see, let's go with the Sonic. I was searching for Sonic. I have endless Sonic love. Okay, pressing left over here, we're going to be into the menu. I don't see that you can, oh, we have the logo over here, it showcases what platform it is. So we have a Mega Drive. Can we can go to the left and right for the next list. Game Boy Advance. Okay, pressing B, goes all the way back. Last played, okay. Favorites and the retro. And the retro having all of the different systems over here. And 64, so I would not surprise it's not going to be running perfectly. PlayStation Portable, Sega, having the arcade stuff with Ferno, I think it's FBA and FBN, okay. Then having over here some more arcade stuff, Neo Geo, MAME. So what I love about it is how they implemented tiny screenshots so we actually know what is going on over here, what kind of game it is. And let's go further. It says, oh man, there are so many platforms nowadays. Open Bore. If you never heard of it, if you like beat 'em ups like me, you should absolutely check it out. Open Bore has some really cool stuff. Ports over here. You also have the Shredder's Revenge. Nice. So when it comes to this particular model, PC Engine. So it's slightly limited to the previous model. I think this is going to be more like a low budget thing that can actually play all kinds of stuff. But let's start in some X64. You know, this is going to be a hit or miss, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's check out what we can actually do. Powerful kitty. Powerful kitty. Yeehaw! So N64 runs like shit when it comes to some more demanding games, particularly when it comes to F-Zero. You can actually hear that it sounds really bad. Oh. Also the volume's a little bit disappointing when it comes to the loudness, but I hope actually the microphone picks it up, because this is just, in my opinion, unplayable so far. Into the game you can actually see some decent overall speed, but in the menu, man oh man. Oh wait, I completely messed it up with that. So when it comes to rebooting, you can actually press both of the joysticks. And we're getting the freaking menu that we have seen before with Pandora's box. Seriously, like the same layout, with the same craziness of saving. Oh man, yeah, absolutely. Powerful kitty, my ass with your powerful kitty. Pfft. But let's try another game. Okay, so first of all, Cruise in the World is a game that should be playable in most of these devices, but unfortunate, it's even worse than the freaking F-Zero X game. Okay, that's just freaking unforgivable. And with a simple reason, because when it comes to, let's say, the Cruise in the World, this is a game that should be playable. But yeah, this kind of maybe to do with the power combination with the emulator. But yep, we're starting off, I'm not going to start complaining like crazy, it's just horrible. N64 is absolutely no-go. So we started this video with quite a lot of negative shenanigans, simply because this, yeah, it's N64 is just a difficult platform to run, and only when you're getting into, let's say more powerful devices and more expensive, most of them, then we'll have the option to actually play those. Nevertheless, let's take a close look inside of some PlayStation 1. We can actually play that on native resolution without any craziness, but I also wanted to check out how it is when it comes to, not performance, but also when it comes to the D-pad, because this is something I don't know for sure if this is going to be in great D-pad. So I really don't like the feel, but also don't like how it plays. No. Let's see. Let's try the other side. Yeah, this D-pad is awful, man. Absolutely. This is not going to be... I already mentioned I'm pressing right. At first I was thinking maybe this is more like a personal handicap. I can do Shoryuken. But I can't do the Hadouken. Man, that is such a weird. So maybe I need to press a little bit harder when it comes to that. Oh, finally. So no, if it comes to, let's say, playing this, no, this is not going to be any good. So it's interesting, the PlayStation, we do have a different, let's say, menu for making quick load, quick save, and we even turbo fire, so that's kind of cool. Okay, interesting, actually, to see what you can actually do with this. So different menus, and when it comes to, let's say, the overall software experience, I find it a little bit messy when it comes to this. So let's move into some Dreamcast with some Power Stone. Man, I love this game. So when it comes to playing Smash Bros, I think that's one of the favorite games back in the day, but when I discovered Power Stone on the Sega Dreamcast, I was completely in love. It's kind of interesting that I started with Power Stone 2, with adventure mode and everything, collecting items. Man, that was such a blast. But when you're going to be looking into the emulation performance, so far so good. I didn't notice any weird things when it comes to the performance or when it comes to other things, you know. Also the glitches or whatsoever. Analog stick and the D-pad can be used. Power Stone Concept, yep, is absolutely one of those games I really like. So let's press both. Okay, so all of them will, or part of the things will actually run through RetroArch, and we have on-screen, we can actually change out a lot of things. Auto overlay, you name it, you can change it out in here. So when it comes to software where it is kind of basic, I do like it when it comes to that. So what interesting to see that we still have a little bit more new platforms coming to those cheap budget devices. So Sega Saturn is one of those, let's say, platforms that it's possible to actually emulate. I did notice that there was only most of the time 1 or 2 games on here, and that would be possible with a simple reason, because these things are not perfectly emulated. But let's get into some basic, beat 'em up with this and see if this is going to be actually working. Okay, the silent mode that is going on, I think that is not something that's supposed to be. I do wonder if the game should supposed to be played so sluggish. It feels so slow, but not to the point this is going to be something of a problem with the emulator. Well, we have seen it with the first generation of handhelds could play PlayStation when the 2-dimensional games are playable and 3-dimensional are not playable at all. But it would be fun maybe if you let me know in the comments if you want to see more of the Sega Saturn stuff in here. Okay. Is this supposed to be happening? I just wanted to check this very strange game called Brute Force. Oh yeah, but it didn't configure it correctly. Yeah, this one's really like shit. You know what's kind of funny? When I'm actually making these videos, I'm just randomly picking game. It's not like the point like having with the N64 that I'm choosing games to actually test bench. I was like, hey, let's test this game, random, like, let's see what's going on. But they completely mess it up when it comes to the emulator. This game looks kind of cool. You can even play with 3 players, but so when it comes to this, let's see, we can even have the option to cheat. Load cheat file, cheat settings, okay. Yeah, we can implement cheats if you want to, but that's not going to be necessary because it's unplayable. But so far I cannot change out anything. No. Okay, maybe change out the aspect ratio. Okay, that's cool. But the point is, there is no way of checking if you can change out the emulator and manage to fix it, because maybe it's just switching now to a different emulator and we don't have any problems when it comes to that. But I want to be clear that this is just a single game or a handful of games that have problems. So that's what you're getting with these devices. It's unfortunate. So always, even out of the box, you do see a lot of problems, so we need to be fixing it. And of course, we have a great community that has a lot of people having just putting the time and effort into getting better options when it comes to firmware, overall emulation performance, settings, and etc. But it's always a little bit of a bummer when you're getting these things brand new and they are freaking filled with all kinds of problems. Sometimes even going to be seeing this video, the problem can also be fixed. And yep, also getting the same menu when it comes to this. So we can change out the aspect ratio. Okay. So let's go back. Resume. What I think what the camera doesn't really pick up at this point is that how beautiful it is when it comes to display. And it also comes with a UniBIOS built in. So if you want to cheat, you can even do that, so that is absolutely awesome. Let's move on to some Game Boy Advance, and I did know there was even an SSX tricky on the Game Boy Advance. But what really intrigued me for playing and testing this is because this is such an interesting game. I think SSX is one of my favorite snowboard games, but this is even a 3D version, so let's see how it actually looks. Okay, I already messed it up when it comes to, let's say, this part. But let's see how it actually looks and how it plays. So far, emulation performance is great. Oh, and I messed it up again. But you know, when I try to replicate the SSX tricky, let's say, overall vibe when it comes to this, yeah, one thing is for sure, nothing beats the original one for the PlayStation, of course. So where does this particular handheld shine? Of course, it's going to be shining when going to be playing some 8-bit and 60-bit and some arcade if it's configured correctly. So recently I've played the PlayStation 1 game Rock 'n' Roll Racing 2. I can tell you, don't do that. If you love this particular game, never play that game. Let's see which button I need to press. Okay. Because it changed out between the menu and the games itself. But yeah, the overall emulation performance of these 8-bit devices, 60-bit is just fine, you know. But we have like so many different ways to actually play nowadays when it comes to this. Woohoo! So if you love racing games, you love rock and roll, this is absolutely a game you should check out. I love the game mechanics of this, where you can actually go to, like say, earning cash, upgrading your car, moving to the next stage, and you can even play this cooperative on the console version. The Powkiddy. Okay, so we're going to be booting up the homebrew, or actually the game called The Team Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. It's like a port from Android, if I'm saying it correctly. And the reason I wanted to show you this, if it's even going to be booting up, it takes freaking forever. Yep. It's time to get myself some tea. But after some time it actually booted up. Okay, that's nice. Now let's get into the story. We need to choose a new game. But this is absolutely one of those very cool additions nowadays with these new generation of devices. We do have like new options. And out of the box it seems to be working just fine. Do have a little bit longer time than normal. So let's boot it up so you can see how fast the loading times are. Also the volume of this game is always so low. It's absolutely annoying. And this is the moment where normally it almost instant load. But I'm playing this of course on my PC or my Steam Deck. But as you can see, everything works just fine when it comes to that. So the menu doesn't work. And I'm just going to be honest, I have no idea how to exit this. So far, it does have a save option, so that's cool. Let's see if we can actually exit the game like this. Oh, there we go, it exits and it goes this way. Okay, that is nice. So we can actually even add more games if you want to when it comes to that. But I do get a request regarding the Nintendo DS, and personally I didn't really play a lot of Nintendo DS because I'm more like a PlayStation portable game. I just wanted to see what's going on with this. So we can actually switch. Normally we can sometimes like switch between screens, which you can see over here. So that's great. I think I can also switch it this way, but I think it's enjoyable now. So if you have a game like Ridge Racer and you don't need all of the specs, or the specs and stuff on the second screen, I think we can finally enjoy this. But again, if you're going to be needing to switch, you can just press a single button and that's it. But I personally prefer to play it on original DS Lite because these things are really cheap. Yeah, the over emulation of some Ridge Racer, it is pretty decent and pretty enjoyable. But with Nintendo DS, you need to actually press the select and start this time to actually get out of the menu itself. So yeah, there is all kinds of different stuff that we can just play on this. It's so much craziness. So let's go a little bit with some with some Tekken. Oh boy. Okay, so when it comes to the PlayStation Portable, let's see, let's press both buttons. Yeah. Okay, we can show actually the... No, wait, crap, wrong button. So we can actually show the frames per second. It's kind of interesting that they added this. But okay, so exit game. No, we're not going to be doing that. Let's resume. Ah, there we go. So that's going to be much better. So Tekken is a game that is actually playable almost. No idea why I could choose that guy. But I wanted to see like how it actually works out when it comes to the overall emulation performance of Tekken. It's normally okay. There is nothing we actually tweak in here. Phew, it does struggle. But Tekken is one of those games that normally plays okay, but it's just way too much asking from the system itself. It struggles, you know, and this is, in my opinion, completely unplayable. However, what you can actually do maybe is looking into what kind of games we're having more, like a mini game or sometimes. Let's see what we do have more in here. So when it comes to normal games like the minis, those are fun and playable most of the time. But yeah, there's always like a little bit of problem with these devices. But how does it work when it comes for the TV out function? I was really curious about that. So we turned on the monitor, but it doesn't do anything at all. So I was thinking I think brave for it for plugging in this device, but I'm guessing I'm going to be needing to reboot itself. So let's actually quit the game. That's something what happens. So I'm going to be exiting the game in the menu. Let's plug it in. Let's plug it back in. And here you can see it doesn't do anything at all. So moving on to the next part. So let's shut it down or reboot the system. And let's see if that is going to be doing the trick that we can actually play now. Yep, and there we go. I just wanted to see what kind of options you're having. Love it when it shows the Powkiddy logo. It actually shows it now on the monitor itself. Okay, and there we go. And now in this way we can actually play our games on the monitor itself. But the original software is not perfect at all, because somehow it doesn't want to do anything. I give it a reboot. Oh, there we go. Wow. Wow, okay. It's completely messed up when it comes to that. So let's turn this freaking thing off. Try to figure out how you're going to be. Ah, there we go. I think I can shut it out. Man, it completely went nuts when it comes to that. Is there something with an SD card? What kind of SD card is actually in here? It's like a Chinese brand. Okay. It's not like a really bad brand, but man, it was completely like messed up when it comes to the TV out function. So normally we can just plug it in and boot it up, but no, this is not going to be happening today when it comes to this particular model. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, so it shows Powkiddy OS. Something went wrong. I was more like I'm in a demo mode or some kind. So let's see what happens now. But now it's going to be loading up in the Powkiddy OS. Okay, so that's the thing I wanted to do. And this way we can just actually boot up the game and just have some fun. I tried to boot up Street of Rage Z, the homebrew version, or the port version, whatever. But no, finally Open Beats of Rage finally works. Okay, before I tried like 3 freaking times to actually boot it up. Let's see if it's going to be continue booting or does it okay, yeah, okay, it's booked soon. And of course, let's try a little bit on Super NES. I completely skipped that one, but out of the box, the overall, let's say, quality of the game is quite nice. They implemented this filter. I think I cannot change it out. No, shaders, wait, yes, we can actually change it out. Ooh, we even have an LCD 3 times, so let's see how that looks. Ooh, okay, that that looks really weird. Having scan light, but yeah, let's see, man. None of them. Okay, let's go. Let's continue. Let's do none. Okay, I love it that they implemented even an aspect ratio, but yeah, everybody has their own choice when it comes to that. Oh man, the buttons are mapped different. Nah, the buttons are completely messed up. So there's something when you're going to be needing to fix. Left. Okay, so they messed up when it comes to the left and top part. So we need to change that out too. Can we change it out? Oh, crap, no. Let's see. Player input remap. Wait, player 1. And they messed up this button over here. So I'm guessing this needs to be. No. This needs to be. Okay, wait, there we go. Okay, let's see, we can actually change this out. Let's see how it works. Can we just change it out and go back? And then resume. Yeah, that's the way. This is the way how we want to play. Okay, great. So this is one of the many things you cannot do with a really cheap device. So when it comes to the software, it's basic, but it is functional, you know. Seems to be working fine when it comes to this. Yep. So when it comes to the Powkiddy X35H, so I do have a little bit of a double feeling with it, because this is not the perfect handheld for me personally. So I do like for what it is. I think particularly when it comes to the form factor, this is an actually very nice looking device when it comes to that. And when you're going to be looking at, let's say, the way how it works, it's very... Let's try that again. It's very easy to actually navigate, and I must say that the software itself, it's okay. And yeah, when it comes to, let's say, the overall emulation, we have seen it with so many devices that a lot of stuff doesn't really work great, like Place Portable, N64, stuff that we've seen many times. I would say like optimize it or just remove it when it comes to that. So overall the D-pad is absolutely horrible when I cannot even play freaking fighting games. So when it comes to that, just the way how it is, when it comes to the way how this works, when it comes to the menu, that's kind of fun, but it does need some more software and better D-pad. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, and it would be great to see you in the next video.